Friends, how are you doing? Just got back from my first Thanksgiving family get together. Just killed half a plate of deviled eggs, doing my part here. But I thought we should talk about Palantir and we, the spoiled brat kids of Palantir, the ones that still believe in it. You know, there's a lot of conversation going on right now that Palantir, this is what you get, you Palantir investors. This is what you get. It's overvalued. You knew this was coming. You filthy. This is what I hear a lot of right now, and you know that's fine. I am still very bullish on Palantir, 100%. And I'm as a Palantir lover, I stand before you saying, of course, I know it's overpriced. It's been overpriced. This is nothing new to people that have been in Palantir. You're having to pay a lot of different buy-ins at this point with Palantir. Popularity. What if, what if it just, has a 20, 30, 40% rise in 48 hours? We've seen this time and time again with the stock. There's a lot of different things you're buying into here with this stock. And, one thing that is for certain, if this was a company that was lacking on revenue at the moment with the progression of where it's been going, I would stand before you right now and say like, hey, yeah, I think we're going to see some pullback here, and this is generally going to be where we're going to sit. The problem with that argument right now, there's a lot of misinformation just with the market. We do have information with Palantir. What we know with Palantir is good. They just did unbelievable quarterlies. They blew expectation out of the water, killed the bears, and then they said, hey, we already have some pre-estimates at what Q4 is going to be like. It's going to be even bigger. And two, here's the beautiful part about that situation. This time frame in between Q3 and leading up to Q4, Palantir could just get some more deals in that time zone, which would fill up even more of a gap, getting them closer maybe to 1.5 billion dollars for quarterly number 4 here. So that would be crazy. So this is why when people say like, well, Palantir, it's obviously going back to $50. This is what you get, you Palantir, you spoiled brats. I get that. I get the conversation. Okay. I get we as Palantir investors can look like, spoiled children throwing a fit, because I've seen some, and two, obviously a lot of that, Alex Karp being very upset with a lot of things that have been said here. Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir, has always been taking shots and giving shots too. He's very outspoken. So when you're very outspoken, you're going to have to take it too. And I get that. I've got two YouTube channels where I talk and, I put my opinions out there. Not that they're ever right nor wrong. I just put them out there. And, if you're going to be able to put it out there, you got to take it, because God knows I get, slew of different comments by the minute, and that's totally fine here. But, with this situation with Palantir, like I said, if Palantir was losing traction right now with revenue, with the deals coming in, I would be concerned. I would say that I would be concerned, but right now we're just not seeing that. What we are seeing is the market fall apart here, and the bears are enjoying it 100%. Obviously, Michael Burry came out with that, that some point this year he had bought puts against Palantir, and literally that news broke the day after, 24 hours fresh into those Q3 results, when Palantir should have been doing a lot more in volume, number pushing up. But we saw that was the start of just the onslaught of just like Palantir falling apart here. Now Palantir falling to this $1.50 zone here where it's at right now. This isn't terrible by any means. I think a lot of people are still up in massive profit zone. And I say that, I know that's not fair for me to say that, because I've been buying Palantir since this was a $7-10 stock. I bought it through the hundreds too in different positions. So in doing some, different trading on it, but I realize that there are people that bought Palantir at 170, 180, 90. Maybe you were the one that bought in, above $200, thinking that this was going to go. And I still think there's high evidence that Palantir is going to get back up and going here. So saying all that to say, don't worry. If you're freaking out right now, like, oh my God, I have made a terrible decision. Why did I buy Palantir at 170? Why did I buy it at 180? Like 190? What did I do? Have I made a mistake? I don't think you've made a mistake at all. I think right now what we're having to deal with is a market that's trying to see what's going on. So this bullet point this week out in the market, what we're looking at here. It's Turkey week, so we're having some more reports come out this week, inflation reports. We'll see how the market reacts to this, what's going on. It's really hard to say what's going to affect the market, what's not going to affect the market. Thursday, obviously the market's closed. Friday, the market opens back up. It closes at 1 o'clock to end the week on Friday. So it's going to be a shorter week in the market. So we'll see what we get away with news, times, and all this kind of stuff in the market. But, getting back to Palantir, if I'm going into the new year, I've said this about other stocks too, I want to make sure I'm holding just awesome stocks. Palantir reminds me a lot of like Tesla, like even 7 years ago when Tesla was this really at that point just an EV company, and they were getting a lot of traction then, obviously, but it was still very much like this, Tesla against the world, where no one believed that this was going to be more than what it was. They were never going to get into this high $1 billion quarterly range of where they could go. And now we look at Tesla and it's just this machine of just its own ecosystem of what it's trying to do. And obviously Tesla is such a broader view of a company at this point, what it's doing here. I think going into and saying I think could still be unfair, I get that, but what evidence we have before us right now with Palantir is really what we have to go off on. Going into 2026, Palantir being anywhere in the price range of 160 to 250, I really don't think that is that crazy. Palantir, whether people like it or not for the bears, they are going to release those Q4s, and those Q4s they're going to be better than Q3. That's a given, but they could be a lot better than what is expected at this point, because Palantir is in this vicious run right now of capturing deals. There is no doubt about it that Alex has this vengeance, this this thing to just prove people wrong, that Palantir is not going to be this dominant company more into the future. And I hate to break this to people that don't believe in Palantir, because and if you think that's fine. We all gotta talk and talk things out here, but Wall Street believes in Palantir. You have to understand that too. Palantir being accepted into the S&P 500 this year, there's still a lot of big investors that are holding Palantir. And this whole thing with Michael Burry putting puts on Palantir, a lot of that is probably done and over with. We just know that he did it. It came to light here where it just came out, but it could be over and done with. We don't have a timestamp of when it started and ended. We don't know. But obviously, Palantir, it had a huge push like it always does, before quarterlies. This one was a little different because it was before the quarterlies, but after the quarterlies, this is when a lot of the drama started with Palantir, which is crazy because Palantir came out with unbelievable quarterlies, and this was kind of the thing that Alex Karp pushed back on, like, what are you talking about? Like, look at what do you want from us? There is this situation right now, and you see this with a lot of stocks when they rise up in price so much. And Nvidia's kind of got that going on right now too. But when a company keeps winning, they just keep doing good. A lot of haters come out of the woodwork and just they want it to fail. They like, it's like a fighter that won't lose, that's kind of just taking the belts, rising up, running through all the old champions. That's kind of what we're looking at here with Palantir. They're just really, they're just pushing, they're ripping, man. And Palantir being at this $150 range, to me, this is still probably a profit zone considering where Palantir will be in 6 months. Palantir is not the first company to be completely priced over where it should be trading X times or where it should be trading. There are plenty of AI stocks throughout the last 10 years that have traded high above of what they brought in revenue-wise and continue to do well. Palantir has just fallen into the spotlight a lot here the past few years. And two, they have a CEO who has a big mouth. God love him. He's got a big mouth, but that's a lot of what's happened here too, where Alex, like if you're new to Palantir and you're like, yeah, this Alex Karp, the CEO, he talks a lot. Alex has been talking. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. One thing that we've seen happen here with Alex recently this year is that Alex, is not only the CEO, but he's going after deals. I mean, you want to talk about a hands-on CEO. Alex has went out and found deals for Palantir, where literally the last one he got with how you say their name, Lumen, walking into their office and saying like, hey, I can make you more money, I can save you more money, and I can speed up the activity and in your company. What do you say? And that's how that deal right there came about. And with that, that deal actually that deal has not even showed up on quarterlies yet, so that'll be coming out in Q4. That's a very recent deal. But Palantir is definitely pushing more into this, getting deals from just random companies or more retail deals here. Even the one with Boeing that we just saw, I think that's probably going to be a lot of the progression of what we're going to see going into this new year, where Palantir just gets more deals. And why knock a good thing that's just continuing to show good news? So friends, I guess what I'm trying to say is, because I've seen people comment like, aren't you worried about Palantir? It's really overbought and it's crowded. Absolutely, it's crowded. I am in the crowd with all of you. I'm like, it is really crowded here. Like, good Lord, somebody open up the doors. I get it. 100%. But, I guarantee you there are people in that crowd that are still talking crap about Palantir. They may be having puts against Palantir, but I'm going to tell you something. I bet they're holding Palantir too. I bet they bought in at Palantir at different levels and they're holding it. But they want to go public and talk bad about it. But they know something good. Investors that have been doing this for a while, they know when something's working. They know when something's good. I'll be the first one to tell you, when Palantir starts to show signs of heavy pullback, I'll be like, okay, whoa. I think we need to, calm down on the buying. This is probably going to slow down pretty fast here, but we're not seeing that. What we're looking at right now is an unstable market. The market's trying to figure out what's going on. Are we getting a rate cut here in December? We don't know. The feds are getting so much different information. I don't know how they're going to make this decision. I really don't. From okay job reports to unemployment being bad to we're going to have some more inflation reports this week. Who knows what they'll be and how the market will react to them. I don't know. We just got to take this one day at a time. Friends, in the long term, Palantir obviously will continue to find deals. This is a company. It's not like they're just going to stop. It's not like the well's just going to run dry here. The well's not going to run dry because they're digging. They are digging down for oceans and oceans of water here, and they're finding it. They're finding it. So friends, feel good about Palantir. Don't look at Palantir like, oh my God, I have made a mistake. Whoa. Because whatever may turn this market around sooner than we think, things are going to turn around here quick. Think about it this way. I'll say this and I'll shut up. When NVIDIA came out with their quarterlies Wednesday, that following morning of the Thursday, the market was doing great. We were like, okay, things are picking up here. Palantir went right back into a 170 zone, trying to get back up in the 170s. It was like, okay, here we go. And then boom, the Fed started talking and, Jerome said what he said, and then the market just like fell back off a cliff. So the market is looking to run here. The market's looking to run back up. Palantir is looking to push up with the market. Palantir is very much in this movement of, okay, I'm ready to play again. I'm ready to get back up in this 170, 180 zone. I'm still overpriced completely, 100%. I agree Palantir is completely too high right now. But, It's just what it is. It is just what it is. It will probably always be like this. A year, 2 years from now, we will be saying the exact same thing with whatever the price action is on Palantir. Friends, I want to wish all of you the best of luck. I really do mean that. It's Thanksgiving week, and I hope everyone's going to have a good week. I really mean that, friends. And, man, the year's almost over. What a wild time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.